Now, statistics show that sexual violence is a significant challenge, with 1 in 3 girls experiencing sexual violence before age 18 in Nigeria. Consultations done by Teenage Network, an advocacy group with 230 students and more than 100 stakeholders, revealed that 6% of girls experienced sexual violence in the last 6 months. 62% of girls who experienced sexual violence did not. 60%, just give me a moment there, 60% of these girls, or 62 of the girls rather, who experienced sexual violence did not report it. And perpetrators are often male students, including teachers and non-teaching staff. To end this trend, the Federal Ministry of Education, in collaboration with Teenage Network, is developing a framework for reporting and managing sexual violence in schools within the Federal Capital Territory. Now, the project aims to strengthen responses to sexual violence in senior secondary schools, but has been expanded to include all private and public schools in the FCT.
Sexual violence is a major challenge for us as a country. It transcends borders within the schools, religious institutions, even within the four corners of our home and the society at large. And so generally, 1 in 3 girls have experienced sexual violence before the age of 18 in Nigeria. According to a study by Together for Girls, 44% of girls have experienced at least one form of school-related gender-based violence in Nigeria, while 34% of boys have experienced school-related gender-based violence. Why school-related gender-based violence is important to us because the school plays a strategic role in our society. The school is transformational. The school is where we shape values, where we shape character of our society at large. And more importantly, we are building future leaders within our school. And so it was very important for us to address the issue of school-related gender-based violence.
Well, joining us to discuss the statistics is Olanike Timipa-Uge, the Executive Director of Teenage Network. Glad to have you join us, Olanike.
Thank you so much.
Well, I understand that you are not collaborating with the Federal Ministry of Education, but rather with the FCT Secretariat.
Education Secretariat.
Education Secretariat. And this framework has already been unveiled.
Yeah.
Give us a lowdown of what really we're looking at here. I mean, yes, sexual violence, but sexual violence extending from there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's good for me to first and foremost, give a clear definition of what we mean when we talk about school-related sexual violence. And we are talking about one of the most pervasive human rights violations globally. School-related sexual violence refers to unwanted sexual acts, that most times are exploitative in nature. And when we talk about school-related sexual violence, it could be touching and non-touching sexual violence. So under the touching, we have rape, we have inappropriate touch, and for the non-touching, we have undue exposure to pornography. We have revenge pornography, and sometimes it could be revenge pornography. And oftentimes, it could even happen at the same time. The touching sexual violence and the non-touching could happen, simultaneously. However, in the era where we're talking about tech-facilitated gender-based violence, this is fast, impacting our schools, creating a more devastating effect, on our academics. And so, over the last 18 months, Teenage Network has worked with the FCT Education Secretariat to develop a sexual violence reporting and management framework for schools and the FCT. And this was particularly, needed based on the survey we did in 2024, in which we consulted 230 schoolgirls on their experiences in relation to school-related, gender-based violence. And based on, the conversation with the girls, 46% of the girls, mentioned that they've experienced at least one form of school-related sexual violence within the last 6 months. This was alarming.
Is it from fellow students or teachers? Which?
Yeah, so we went a step further to know who are the perpetrators of school-related sexual violence. And it's so alarming to see that more than 50% of cases are perpetrated by the male student, while we have about 15% perpetrated by the teachers, 15% perpetrated by girls, you know, and the rest, you know, perpetrated by the non-teaching staff.
So it's more by the fellow students?
Yes, more by the fellow student. And you know, this is not new, because looking back at a study, you know, done by Together for Girls in 2014, which is the National Violence Against Children Survey, the survey revealed that 44% of girls in schools, in Nigerian schools, had experienced at least one form of school-related gender-based violence, while 33% of boys have experienced at least one form of school-related gender-based violence.
So it's not just for the girls, for the boys as well?
For the boys as well. But even in the study as conducted in 2014, it was also revealed that the male students are the major, you know, perpetrators of school-related gender-based violence.
Why is this so? Did people get an idea of why this is so?
And you know, the school is a mirror of what happens in the society. So we live in a society where, you know, gender-based violence is fast becoming a norm. As a matter of fact, there are certain issues, especially when it relates to sexual violence, that people do not expect, you know, ladies to speak up. People make excuses for cases of sexual violence. And so the learners, you know, come from homes where gender-based violence is a norm, it is tolerated. And when they get into the school, they practice what they have learned from the community. However, the school has a role to play. The school being an agent of socialization, you know, that is responsible for molding the character, the behavior, and morals of our future leaders.
Why does the home come in here?
So the home comes in because the home is the primary agent of socialization. The home is the primary, you know, primary place where, you know, values are passed down to the children. You know, parents lead by example, and then the children, you know, learn from them. While the school is a secondary agent of socialization. So the home needs to play their own role for the school to play its own role. However, the school is expected to have what is called, you know, safeguarding, to ensure that even when we have children who are coming from malfunctioned home, it doesn't impact on other learners within the school system. So this is where, you know, the school comes in, because the school needs to play its role to ensure that all learners within the school system are free from all forms of violence. And also for learners who are coming from the home front, from dysfunctioned, you know, home front, can also get help, you know, get to work on their behavior, you know, learn, you know, new values that are very important for them to grow to be responsible citizens, you know, of the country.
Now, when you talk about safeguards, my thinking immediately went to discipline. In schools, and with this network, are schools being encouraged to, well, I know the school I went to way back, you'll be disciplined, you know, in terms of punishments. But then you also have another angle too, where some parents come to the school and say, why did you punish my daughter or my son?
Yeah, absolutely. In a consultation with more than 100, you know, education stakeholders, those are some of the issues identified. There are instances where a student perpetrates, you know, a form of an act of violence, and then the influential parents, you know, waits in to say, this is my child, you cannot discipline my child, or, you know, threatening to withdraw the child from the school. You know, those are issues, you know, that we need to, you know, address within the school system. And so we cannot leave that, you know, to continue, because it places other learners at risk. And because when issues of sexual violence happen over time in schools and there are no penalties awarded, it creates a culture of tolerance where everyone feels, oh, violence is a norm, it is acceptable.
This person did it, so I can do it.
Yes, I can do it, and then it becomes a norm. Even children who come from good homes, you know, who have the right values, begin, you know, they get influenced, you know, to be perpetrators of gender-based. And aside that, you know, gender-based violence or school-related gender-based violence has a direct impact on education. Learning cannot take place in an unsafe environment. Yep. And so when a child, you know, is a victim of sexual violence or any other form of gender-based violence, it directly affects, you know, the mental health and then the academic performance within the school system.
Now, I read this, and it revealed that 6% of girls experience sexual violence in the last 6 months. Is it increasing or decreasing?
46% actually.
Is it not 6?
Not 6%.
Okay, that was a typo.
So
For the 6%, so is it increasing from what you, the 230 students, is it increase? I mean, when you weigh against past, occurrences, is it increasing or decreasing?
It is increasing. Yes, it's increasing because...
and what's the cause? Is it because part of what I've read here is that people hardly report these things. Why don't they report it? Okay,
so some of the reasons why, learners who had experienced sexual violence within the school system did not report is one, a lot of them believe that, the school will not believe them, which is what happens in the society at large. When you have somebody come forward to make a case, the burden of proof is on the victim and not, the perpetrator. So that's one issue. The second is the absence of a clear reporting system within the school system, and that is why, supporting the FCT Education Secretariat, was very important in developing the framework, because the framework, clearly stated what the reporting system for cases of school-related sexual violence is, and also established a minimum standard for the management of cases of school-related sexual violence, because over time we have observed that victims of sexual violence within the school system often do not get the care that they need, because sometimes schools are also being careful. They don't want the name of their school to get soiled, and so they don't want the news to get out. So and in ensuring that they curtail that news within the school, then the victim does not get the necessary medical care, the psychological care, and then justice, which are very important, aspect for healing, even as a survivor of school-related sexual violence.
Quite some bottlenecks. We hope that Teenage Network is able to break through these bottlenecks and be able to give these people justice and be able to stem, these issues both for our girls and for our young men. Thank you so much, Olanike Timipa-Uge, the Executive Director of Teenage Network, for being on Newsnight.